Welcome to FMA Talk Live. This is Datu Tim, and I have two wonderful co-hosts, PG Craig Mason and PG Tye Botting. How the hell you guys doing?
Excellent.
Pretty dang well. Yep.
All right. So we have been on a hiatus. I did one impromptu show talking about what's going on. We went to the Philippines. This is what today's show is going to be on. Might be a 2 to 3 part series because of the quantity of stuff that went down. All in a good way. Of course, I got the knucklehead barking in the background. I assume you guys can hear that. Come here. We made physical connections with material. We made personal connections with people. We got history. We got it all. This is probably the most beneficial trip that we've been on. And yeah. So here, I'm going to just mute this for a minute. So, hey, PG Tye, why don't you take point for just a moment?
Sure. Let's see. So some of you all may remember that we were headed over there. So we were over there 10 plus days, not counting the travel, I think, starting at Manila.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How do we want to start it there? I think we want to start it there.
Yeah. Also, we did the Mataw. So first of all,
that's right.
We did the Mataw Guro tournament and award event. So, I was one of the sponsors for the event, helped out, and so we went to the tournament. It was a 2 days tournament. So the first day was I'm not sure if it was 18 and under or if it was like maybe 30 and under.
There was it was the juniors, because the adults, the 18 and over, was the next day. Yeah, we had all basically the juniors, basically the teens and the little ones.
So which it was a huge event.
Oh yeah, there must have been 200 people.
They had 2 rings. A third ring would have made it run so much better. But limited space, I mean, and actually they're in the overhang area. There really wasn't. If they put a third ring in, that probably would have made it very cramped.
Yeah. Considering the amount of people that were there, but considering the amount of basically participants for that tournament with 2 rings, and they were round-based fights. We were expecting it to run long, but
yeah. I mean, they did like I said, there was fighting only. They were talking about forms. That was a good call that they didn't do that. Right. So, so I knew what I was in for. These guys had no clue what was going on multiple levels.
Especially not the hats.
Yeah. So, so
you should have that picture, I think.
I do. I do.
Now, what were those called again? I know there was because I know they're a traditional hat. I don't know if the technicolor.
Sure they are.
I don't remember. Yeah.
They're a traditional hat. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, sure they are. Let me see. I want to pull up my profile photo, and I'm going to share it right here. So, share screen, share window. So yeah, this is what we were wearing.
Okay.
And then somebody, the Canadian, decided to share it with our significant others back home, and evidently they had a lot of fun at our expense with that. So, that was that's how we started. Now the cool thing is, when we were there, they asked us to do to address the crowd, which was cool, and most of the kids over there speak English. They're really good with their English. We were actually talking about how Tagalog is becoming a thing of the past almost over there. It's more Taglish than anything else.
Taglish, yeah. Well, that was the one. Mataw and I were talking in the mall, and he said, "What do you speak? Taglish."
Right. And it wasn't just us with the hats, by the way, everyone. There's another picture with like 8 or 10 of the guests and judges on there with the same hats. So it wasn't just us.
It was not play a trick on the white guys.
That's right.
It was not Yeah, and I did say the white guy. Puti. Puti.
I've got that picture handy, but I don't know if I can share it.
Here is the tournament.
Yep.
So you look at everyone. I mean, that's part of the crowd. That was good. Did selfie, and everyone was. There's Craig presenting. There's more photos of everybody, and there's people all over the place.
Yep, it's a neat outdoor gym with a covering like that.
There's
at
PG
elementary school.
And then I went around. I did my rounds. So having been there before, after my social media company has did its job, I kind of told these guys what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think I downplayed it fairly well. And it took me, oh my goodness, I think it took me an hour to walk that area.
Oh yeah,
at least, yeah.
Yeah, it was easy to figure out where I was. Hey, Bruce, how you doing? And Jeremy. As I was working the room, the area going around, all you had to see is a whole bunch of people doing selfies and photos and autographs and stuff like that.
With the big white hair sticking out. Above
yeah, it was. Yeah, and my hair was getting long. I got a haircut while I was over there too. But my social media company's done a good job. And the cool thing is, the most amount of followers I have are from the Philippines, not from the States, but from the Philippines. So, and then they started walking around, and people, hey, because people know Craig from doing the videos with me, and people know Ty from doing the show with me. And there's GM Alvin, who was the host for the event.
He had the hat too.
He was wearing the hat as well. Yes, we all wore the hat. Right. For a period of time, and then that time was done.
That's right.
I don't want to be accused of cultural appropriation.
That was a good picture with us three and GM Alvin, so that was good.
Yeah. So, and I will search. I don't know if I'm not sure who had that picture.
It's on Craig's.
So I created and for you guys, just so you know, I have a folder which I invited you guys to be part of.
Yep.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I got these photos are all
the energy in that tournament was just unbelievable. That's one thing that Ty and I were kind of there was the typical tournament kind of kind of a little bit of upset with you lost the your match or whatever, but the team spirit at that for all the team like the groups and all the actual clubs that were doing it was just stellar.
Yeah, it was all positive, even though they were sort of positiving at each other. But then if they didn't win, it was all just the sportsmanship was just stellar at that. That was really, really good. Really good. And all the kids were like that, and the chanting and all the energy they put in.
Oh yeah. Well, they obviously promote it because you can see that because they're all kids that actually do it from their schools, their areas.
So Bruce, there was no hesitation. The people were just lining up to take pictures with the three of us. I said, I knew I've been doing social media. Social media is just the latest term for advertising yourself on the internet. Okay. Now, it's internet advertising or using social media platforms. It's still all the same time, advertising. So I've always been very good at promoting myself in when it comes to PR, and when I went over in August, I had no clue. Like Senator Zubiri showed up, who was a former WCAF champion, put all the money into the sport. I had just as many people lining up to do photos with me as him, maybe even more. His just was when he entered the room, there was all this hubbub because he was a senator and stuff like that. So I was already, I had this, I already knew this was coming. And of course it leveled up. And now I know to bring felt tip markers and other size pens. But these guys hadn't been through that. And I'm not talking witnessing me going through this because they haven't. But they had that just as much. Like I said, because of what I've been doing with the social media, Craig has a lot of visibility because he's my helper and a lot of this stuff. And people knew our podcast here. So that was good. And no one had any hesitation. They just came right up. Hey, we got to do this. Da, 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 da. Okay. So good evening, gents. Yep. And then hello, Kuya, Tim, and Kuyas. And then here we go. We are thankful for your full supports. What an amazing to all Filipino young fighters meets with you, Pugay.
Absolutely.
Yes. And like I said, I made sure I committed to a level of sponsorship to help make sure that event went on. So the cool thing, which is a side thing, I've been asked by more than one group to potentially do a tournament in the Philippines. So or help something. So a group in Manila has reached out to me. A group in Iloilo has reached out to me. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts there. It would be an odd year, as in like 2027, 2029. I wouldn't want anything to do that would get in the way of the WCAF World Championships, because WCAF has a path to the Olympics. Whether they can execute or not, it's another story. But I'm trying to support that effort. Oh, and this is a rumor that just came up recently. I want to be very clear on this. I have friends in WCAF. I have friends in GSBA. I have never been a member of GSBA, although I've been to a couple GSBA events, the Vegas tournament, the first year they did the Worlds, and I was in Rome teaching at the Kali Sikaran camp, and that was the weekend prior to the World Championships for GSBA in Rome, and Carl and I went to that as well. And I have offered, Carl and I run an event in Barbados, and I have offered both members of GSBA as well as WCAF, if they ever want to do a Caribbean event, we would love to team up with them. I am an official member and regional director, the Can-Am, or the Great Lakes regional director for WCAF. And as much as I've had friends, and actually one of the Datu, so Bong Hernellis was the third Datu or fourth Datu. I was the last Datu. I did train his program, but I was a Remy student first and foremost. And when he came on, Remy actually helped me, had me help onboard him with some of our material. But having relationships with people doesn't mean I'm a member of anything. And when I offered in Rome to help them judge because they were behind the schedule, they said, listen, Tim, you're not a member, and protocol states you have to be a member to be able to judge. And you had to go through course. Like, hey, I get it. But actually back in the early 90s, 91, 92, I was attached to WCAF Canada with Rudy Casico, and I used to help him with his team trials and stuff of that nature. But for some reason, people have been putting this rumor out that I've been a member of GSBA. And it's like, no, I just know people who are there. And matter of fact, the U.S. director who was in when I went Team USA, Carlos Patalinghug, who's been on our show, he had some of his students attend and compete in the GSBA tournament, but they weren't GSBA members. They attended the tournament. So, but I just wanted to clear that up because I don't know why these rumors are floating around, but of course, the adult way to do things is ask questions, and somebody finally did. And they said, hey, so how long have you been a member of GSBA? I'm like, no. And no. So I was a card-carrying member of the Canadian chapter in the early 90s, and I'm currently a card-carrying member for WCAF. WCAF in the 80s or 90s, and now WCAF now. So, but another story, another thing. So that was day one. Day two, not to be confused with Datu. That's day two, Datu. Craig and I fought. Not each other, because we get along pretty good. It was too early in the trip for us to have any fights amongst ourselves.
That was later.
So I did an exhibition match with Boy Garcia. He's a Yao Yang guy, and
Yep.
we did an engagement style sparring where it was like a 3-shot thing. Didn't know that was what the rules were going to be. Didn't prepare for it. Caught me off guard, but who cares? It's an exhibition match.
Yep.
And people have been commenting to me about this, and I want to be very clear. People say, "Well, we know who really won, Tim." And I do too, Boy Garcia. But at the end of the day, it was an exhibition match. I just said, "Hey, if you want an exhibition match, I would love to be doing that." However, Mr. Mason competed, and well, a spectacular performance. I mean, what was it 5-0?
Yeah,
Or
I
did he
think
get one?
First round, yeah.
First round was 5-0.
Yep.
We have a very good relationship when it comes to coach and fighter. And Craig did everything I said, and everyone was like, wow, that was amazing. And he unfortunately, Craig wanted more fights. The fight was over. I'm like, oh, can I have more? Can I have more? Like, there's nothing I can do. It was intense, and it was a great match, by the way.
Yep. There was a lot of great matches.
Like, the whole thing. Ronnie did an amazing job. Ronnie Royce.
Yeah, Ronnie and the Guro group and the gentleman from the Bakbakan.
Yeah. So you had So there was a Babakan guy from Jersey who showed up. You had Guro, otherwise known as Khalil Estrissimo, with Coach Arnold. They did an amazing job, which was funny because I didn't think they were gonna. They adapted. So the thing here is, sport Arnis is different than real combat. I mean, sport and anything. And I was gonna kibitz a little, say, hey, if you do this, or this is what they're gonna do to you, blah blah blah. They did a really good job of applying their style.
Oh yeah.
And doing very well and being very successful with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time, like I said, day one, there was a lot more team cheering, and no one said F you to each other. They were like, each team had their little battle cheer.
Yep.
And at the end of every match, people shook hands, gave each other hugs.
Yep.
Everyone was smiling. Even was like, I wanted to win. Hey, but good job, man. It was really both days was like that.
And second day, especially because we're in that room instead of that big outdoor auditorium area.
Right.
And it was getting so loud near the end fights.
I wish that you would have had a few more fights. I think that would have been. Because
had a good time.
So what age group did you fight in?
55 to 59.
Yeah. So
the younger old guys.
Craig was the machine. There was no question about it. I mean, but then again, Craig fights Dog Brothers. He fights Kick Light in Wacko. I mean, he's on point there.
They were clearly not expecting that.
No. That was I had a feeling that they expect. Well, I think people in the room thought things were going to go a completely different way, and I felt very confident in how it was going to go down, and it even went better than I thought it would. With the exception of not having more matches. So that would be the only downside.
Yeah, he got the bye. That was no fun.
Yeah.
No.
I think the only thing that I found a little strange about the tournament, because you look at all the divisions, and then usually if you look at a lot of fighting, when you go to a tournament and there's all those fighting, and then you have a grand champion. Well, it's all the first place people would fight all the first place people, and then you would fight for the grand champion. But they didn't do that at this tournament, which was because I would have loved to have basically gone against some of the Guro guys, because I'm sure they would have given my money.
It is the year of the snake. We were in a mall, and that is a snake. I know it looks like a couple different things all at the same time.
Snakes.
So there's 3 snakes in the picture, and we're not a snake in the grass. Ty, am I taller than you?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh man, I didn't think we were. I thought that was an optical illusion. Okay, we Ty and I are both born in the year of the snake, and we'll be celebrating our birthdays at the Buffalo camp coming up this May.
Assuming we make it that far.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we were at Dulce Para Cebu. That was
Yep.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So the first weekend, we didn't do our normal stuff because we were at the tournament. It was Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
We ended up. So officially, here we go. Both Craig and Ty are official members of the Mataw Guro Association. They were the latest two full board members brought in. And where there was other people who were honored, they did awards for Abun Bayet, Bobby Tabuada. None of these guys were there. They did one for Apollo Ladra, who happened to be there. And they were doing some nice awards for these guys.
Boy Garcia got one too.
Boy Garcia. But as far as being part of the Mataw Guro Council, these two gentlemen are the latest two members. Also, there was a third, Dayang.
Yes.
Misha
or something like that.
Misha, yeah, Dayang Misha.
Yeah.
I'm looking up right now. Dayang Misa de Guzman. Okay, so she's the latest member. The three of you are the latest members, which I'm going to point out. I mean, there's a whole, so there's now, two Western members of this association. More now, there's three of us now because I was inducted last year February, and you guys are the latest two people who are been inducted. Okay, I was born the year of the snake as well, and congratulations, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who he's talking to, gentlemen. Does that apply to any one of us? I don't know.
It must be the Canadian.
Yeah. So we did that. So that was the 2 days there. Now there was two things that happened. There's three things that happened on the Friday we got there. So one, Father Alvin came by and visited us. We at the hotel, and then my Pandai, who does all my blade work, came and delivered a whole bunch of our swag. So for those who are looking for swords and such in Canada, if you're Barrie and North, talk to PG Craig because he's really close there. If you don't mind coming to Buffalo, and the cool thing is our stuff is different. So they designed a knife just for Craig, and so he you wouldn't have happened to one handy with you, would you?
Not on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a sharp knife. I mean, no pun intended. It's a trainer. It's an aluminum. So, and then I've got a bunch of swords and all this other stuff. So really good. And then Janet Geronimo visited. So that is the daughter of Grandmaster Geronimo, the late Grandmaster or Supremo Geronimo. And we did a meeting on the international, which is the World Seekeron Brotherhoods, the World Seekeron Brotherhoods tournament that I'm hosting. It's the 7th international. They prefer the term, it's a world championship, but they prefer the term international. And I love, it is what it is. All right, there you go. Love Datu swag. There we go. And Jeremy, that's me in Canada. Need a steel trainer, Talabong, and edged. Okay. So
next order, what I'm going to need to put in.
Yeah. So we will be, and the thing here is we've got constant supply of stuff, so we'll be getting more and more blades and stuff of that over. We also might be getting some cooler stick bags, which I brought some back, but that's another thing. And some of the stuff will be coming out soon. Tomorrow I will be releasing FMA Talk magazine. So we have a PDF magazine. The first issue, each issue is featuring an instructor. The first one, obviously, started with me, the founder of FMA Talk. Go through some stuff, and I should have some. I just have to update the graphic for that, as far as the photos, because we are putting some of the swag that's in there as a Q&A section. There's an overall bio for me and a list of events. And our calendar is going to be there. We'll be constantly updating that. The second person in, and I will release it. I will be releasing this real soon. It's on the World Monitors Alliance website. You just can't get to it because I haven't made the button yet available for the public. But what I'm going to do right now, and it's once it's done, I will have. It's not. You cannot click on anything yet. I haven't uploaded the magazine. But basically, if you do wmrnews.com/FMA Talk, I'm updating this. It's actually going to be March, not February. Talk about some things here, movies that we've done and stuff like that. Then the next episode issue will be PG Ty, then PG Craig, then PG Chad, and PG Sam. That's the next ones that are coming up. If you are on there, make sure when you go, we have the calendar of events. But if you want a downloadable PDF, you click on this right here, and that'll open up a PDF with all the events listed. They're color coordinated. This is going to be updated on a regular basis, because more events will be added as time goes on. But these are some of the things that's going on. Like I said, we will have tomorrow. I'll be releasing the first issue of FMA Talk Live. They're short. These aren't really long ones. The goal is to have it so we can go back and do more stuff. I'll probably end up having a corner in there to just talk about different things, my thoughts on X, Y, and Z. But right now, the core focus is on featuring a bunch of the WMA members, and then we're gonna start featuring our friends. Mm-hmm. But nothing so heavy that we can't do it on a regular basis. So, and on that note, but the World Seacron event was looking good. We had a great meeting. Actually, we had 2 meetings on that. One was the front end of the thing. We went out to dinner, and then we had a tail end one, which we'll talk more about that. And then we left Monday for Cebu. What do you guys have any takeaways from that first weekend that you want to share with anybody or share with our viewers?
Well, I mean, so one of the things that, we did a lot of stuff, but it wasn't whirlwind. It was a good pace. So I really like this pace, but that first tournament, just to start off the thing, was a great energy, a great feel, great to see all of those kids. I mean, it was packed with that good energy. And so I just used that for the rest of the trip.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I reiterate the same thing at the time. And even when we were hanging, like in the first day for the first tournament, the Kiro group were actually there practicing for the next day. And we just sat down with Coach Arnold. Like he's such a great guy, and his whole group are so welcoming. And we just sat and just chatted and talked shop for a while. And everybody that we ran into, it might have been, I know sometimes, even if you look at some of the previous trips, the token white guy, can we have a picture like that one time when we were traveling, when I went it's like we've got a picture with, because it was some little girl's birthday that her parents wanted the picture with the white guys, but everybody there was just cool. They just come and chat with us. You want to,
most every interaction like that was a lot like family, like sitting down with Narzo's crew. It's just like, our friends and brothers from over there. It's like old times. It was good.
Yeah. And there's a little more swag there. Just pointing that out there. There's nothing like a shameless plug, because I have no shame. I hear a lot of I don't want to get political, but I'm going to get political. People have made comments, back in the day, these people didn't like you, but now they like you and all this other stuff. Someone actually tried to say that about Arnold. Like I'm like, no, we've been going there forever and a day, and we've never had a problem with Arnold.
Right.
We've always gotten along with Coach Arnold.
2011, right? That was our first time really training with the Guro group.
Yeah, 2011.
Because
probably.
actually, when Manong Tony was still alive, he was still alive. We got a chance to meet him. I got a chance to meet him, and we've been doing sessions with him every time we go. There's in even like all the groups, all the different systems, regardless of what style. Because we met, well, even at the tournament, you got a lot of modernese groups in, because a lot of it is basically it's tournament oriented because it's the juniors. But in the adults, you had all the different groups come and compete. You had Ronnie's group, you had the Kiro group, you had the Bakbaken. There's a lot of different groups that competed in the adult division on the Sunday, and none of them were it's me against you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had that there was that friendly competition because it's a tournament is a tournament, but in the same token, after the fact, everybody was the bro hugs coming out and just chilling with everybody, chatting and
pictures, pictures
Yeah.
right and left,
pictures, everywhere.
The Kiro group, and for those who aren't familiar with Kiro, KI, the Kaliloshissimo group with Arnold Narzo. We've been seeing them. Like I said, we've been going. We've been hanging out with them for over a decade, and they've been nothing but nice to us throughout the years. And it wasn't this sudden flip where I'm a social media guy now, so they want to be buddy. They've always been buddy with us. The group has grown, and now they're back in Lynetta Park. And it's cool, and we've bumped into a few of them throughout the years, and it's good to see that they've got such retention that they have. But this was we had more time to hang with everybody. And
that's what the pace was nice with that for sure.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, okay, my Tagalog is no better than it's ever been. Ty's is a lot better. But Arnold Narzo's English is so much better. And his guys, he's got a bunch of guys that are very good at speaking English. So any kind of communication barriers that were there in the past, they were not present on this trip, which I think helped us a lot. And, like I said, Ty is fairly proficient. I won't say fluent, but proficient with Tagalog, and it helped a lot. But I mean, there is a trend where people are going more for English these days, or Taglish.
Right. I didn't need to practice. I just tried to do it anyway, and it was helpful. But yeah, it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sam. Yeah. So there was no negative attitudes on any part of this trip.
Nope. I'll agree.
The only negative attitude was me when I got hit with heat stroke.
That was at the very end.
Yeah, thank goodness it was it wasn't thank goodness. It was like, but it was an interesting way to finish the trip, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, there was no negativity, and like we saw everybody and anybody and all of our personal interactions. So we went out with somebody, we'll just say that, multiple times, because we're about making friends and all this other stuff. Well, this person had a question, 2 questions for me, one of which was, and this was still the first weekend, one was the Datu thing, why am I using the term Datu? And I went into that, which we've done on multiple occasions. And when we get to Iloilo, I am going to that portion of the trip. I am going to address this one more time, because of what I did, because I constantly vet myself, constantly check to see what people are doing, and talking to people, and verifying stuff. So, but another thing was, one of my videos, I made some comments, and this person did the adult thing, and that was actually ask me questions as opposed to crying foul. Why did you say this? This was this, that, and the other thing. And I don't want to get into it, because what was actually said because the conversation, because it was a private conversation, I was very, I don't say blunt, but I was very to the point. Okay, so I got Ty in here twice. Okay, I got rid of the other one. So
reboot my thing.
I get you. So I was very direct, and it was not necessarily favorable for the person that this person, their lineage goes through. But I was trying to be as respectful as possible, and they understood exactly why. And they actually, we saw them again the following weekend, and they and that person had talked to the people in their network, and they understand where I was coming from and why I said what I did.
Yeah, and I think that the conversation was, it was a truth of this is what it was about, and there wasn't any nastiness or anything. It was, this is what it was, and I was like, and that person, I was like, oh, now I get it, and they were okay with it.
Oh, I had a signal issue, I think.
Key, right?
Hold on. I had a signal issue here. Hold on. What's this one here? By the way, good morning to all of you, or evening. Don't worry. Just listening. God bless. All right, cool. And Guido, hey, what's up? What did you say now? So, yeah. So, but you know, the cool thing was that I'm in the Philippines. So here's the question: we were in the Philippines, and I sat there and said, "Who are the big names that you guys know from the States?" And it was shocking which names came up. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go down that path. Okay. Yeah. But the funny thing is, some of the names that came up in the conversation. My name was one of them. And there's two other people specifically. And I'm the guy that's welcome without any conditions. One of the people, well, we want to have some talks with them. The other person is, no, we want to have a little, we want to get our hands on this guy. So I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I was actually very pleased with all the stuff I've been saying. Well, and for the most part, I haven't said much about Filipino martial arts. It's been the BJJ stuff, and which some people comment on, and they don't get what social media is about. And we've done our pivot now where we're focusing more on the content versus being controversial, because now we've got that good following going, but it was so refreshing that someone had a question and they actually asked it versus whining, crying, complaining about bullshit.
Yep.
And we ended up hanging out with that person multiple times during the trip. It was a blast.
Yep.
Next time I go over, I plan on seeing that person again, whether it's the group of us or if I'm there by myself, So, but it was
good to hang out with them.
We keep popping.
Yep.
Okay, what's this go here? Short version. Hey guys, long time no see. Yeah. That was 48 hours ago. Yeah, and then they heard me. Okay,
they heard of you.
No. Yeah,
it wasn't you, Rob.
No, Rob. Yeah, so but it was, like I said, it was such a refreshing thing for people to actually go, "Hey, Hartman, you said this. Can you explain where you're coming from?" Sure.
Yep.
And then we talked about the Datu thing,
and
I'm like, and it was like, well, and once again, for those who don't know, Professor Price is awarded to 6 people. I was the last, not self-appointed. And we had the conversation, and people were fine, and they understood where I was coming from. Yep. And later in the trip, someone told me that I should be defending that and standing up even more so, and we can get into that later. Okay, by the way, it's Adam. One of Workman's students. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
All
Yeah.
right. So, and then, like I said, with the show, we may be having 2 or 3 episodes on this topic because of how much cool stuff that happened.
And then
because this was jam packed. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was.
And if we're focusing on that first weekend, besides the tournament, there was that one funny message you got. Were you guys at Dairy Queen and Robinson's?
That's right. Yeah. Yep. And yes,
So
if you
before
think
we
you
go,
saw us at Dairy Queen and Robinson's, you probably did.
Yeah.
Frank,
Polanco. Yeah.
yeah, he
Very
said,
cool. Hey, Frank.
Hey.
Yeah, it was a while ago. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Good memory. Yeah.
Hey, Frank, I'm going to be hosting one of the qualifying tournaments for nationals. Would love to have you come to Buffalo for the event. Just FYI, I'm now the Great Lakes director of WECAF, so for the U.S. side, not the Canadian side. But okay, so, and on that note, once again, every time we turned around, someone was stopping us in the airport, in the streets, in 7-Elevens. They could have talked to us in the Dairy Queen,
Outside
on
of malls.
escalators. Yeah, outside of malls, airports.
Yep.
People were tracking us down. Oh,
Excellent. That's a good
excellent,
deal, Frank.
sir. Hey, maybe I'll get this guy up high so he can do some judging up there that weekend and hang with everybody. It'll be really cool. The goal is to be flying out the president so he can be U.S. president to be part of the event as well. And we're only like 30 minutes from Niagara Falls, USA. So.
No, but that's
All
a good summation of that how they were treating us. There was several times that they just kept on calling us almost. I mean, they were over saying things, but I mean, the idea was that they felt like we were good ambassadors for stuff, and I really appreciate that because try not to be negative, and there's really nothing to be negative about. You really got to focus on the good stuff, and we love the arts, all of them, not just modernities.
Yeah, and so and the guy, a lot of the people that were there, and it wasn't. I found, when they actually approached us and they talked, we really like your videos, and it wasn't about the negative videos or it was actually about you guys are promoting FMA, and that is so amazing.
Yep,
that was the main theme. When people
here's the thing I'm going to talk about. So we're going to go down not the rabbit hole, but we're going to go down the political side and the social media side and stuff like this. Here's the deal. People are always I'm getting a lot of people saying, all you do is put out videos of BJJ. First of all, if you knew how much I paid for every episode, there's no way in hell I'm going to put thousands of dollars into trash talking BJJ.
Right.
What I've done is I've done some parodies. What I've done is said that I think Filipino martial arts is better, which is I'm allowed my point. Now, when I speak at times, I turn it up to 11, so there's a Spinal Tap reference there. I am loud. I am bigger than life when I talk about these things because that's some of the stuff you have to do to get your message out. There's some clickbait topics, and people hear the clickbait title, but they don't listen to the content. And even and most of the people out there that are saying these things are freaking morons because we'll sit there and say this is off of a grab. And Craig, how many times have people said that punch would never work or you could never defend a punch that way? I'm like, well, clear your cauliflower ears out or start to read the words because they're there too. It was off of a grab. Or they choose to take things out of context because that's what they get to do. That being said, the majority of my messages out there, if you think I've been doing a video every day of the week since April 1st, the majority of my videos are about Filipino martial arts. It's all about Remy. It's talking about history. It's talking about techniques. It's all about this. And the Filipinos saw their whole thing was this group right here, collectively on multiple platforms, Craig helping me on my 4 social media platforms, Ty and I doing this on the podcasts. and then just promoting stuff on the internet in general. Our goal is to promote Filipino martial arts first and foremost. Yes, I'll make some controversial posts, but the Filipinos recognize this. And, at the end of the day, who's doing this right now? I'm going to give you 3 names that are doing this right now. And one has recently done a pivot to get more into the FMA. The 3 big names on social media right now, Jason and I, Doug Marqueta, and myself promoting Filipino martial arts. Now, for the longest time, Doug Marqueta was forged in fire. But now that that's over, he's pivoting, getting back into Filipino martial arts and doing a lot of shorts and stuff like that, which I think is great. The 3 of us can get the word out there. Now, obviously, our content's a little different. Jason and I appeals more towards the bouncer security type group. Doug has got that huge following from Forge and Fire. And myself, I'm pretty much the FMA guy. We all have the FMA blend in there or flavor in there. But, we all. Okay. Are we all back? We're all back. Okay. They blocked out there. The more of us that are out there doing it, like I look at some of the other groups out there that I've left to do my own thing, and they're putting content out there. And the more people that put content out there, it's the better for all of us.
Absolutely.
The better for all of us.
Yep.
I just wish people would do better production. And when I say that, here's where people get it twisted. I'm not talking flashbang and all this other stuff. It's lighting and audio. Do a little better lighting so people can see, and put a mic on something so people can hear you. I'm not saying bells and whistles. I'm talking the essentials.
Okay.
When Professor was alive and some people did some articles for Remy, and people complained because they weren't part of these articles. And they say, what do you think about it? I remember Jeff Delaney did an article, and people say, what do you think about Jeff Delaney's article? I go, if it was written well and got more people doing modern arnis, it's good for everybody. Yes. If it's all about Jeff, people are going to reach out to him first. And they're going to find out he was in Dripping Springs, Texas. But anyone in Buffalo, New York, after they find out, they're going to look, oh, there's a guy in Buffalo, me, that I can train with. Or people in Pennsylvania. Tim's only an hour or 2 away from me. I can train with Tim instead of going all the way to Texas. A rising tide raises all ships. And a bunch of people, especially the group TSR Kali out of New York City, can tell you point blank that my stuff has been helping their school because I've been referring people to them on a regular basis. And they're like, wow, yeah.
That was what I really liked over there. The people that did know you or Craig or me because of all this stuff saw through some of the weird stuff that gets people's views and saw exactly the support for FMA. I mean, shout out to Jim Rev. What a great guy. He was flabbergasted just on how just regular folks we were. Yeah. Not that we would be anything else, but when you meet people in real life, they better be real, and we are what you get. What you get is what we are all the time.
Yeah. I'm having signal issues here. So you said GM Rev said.
Oh, he was just flabbergasted on how cool we were, how just regular guys.
He was an awesome guy.
how much we just were there to support the arts we all love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's
we are constantly referring people to other schools.
And I think everybody was just so open about, because I remember, so I just look at, getting back to the Guro group, is he was like Coach Arnold was thanking us to come out to his training. I'm like, no, it's like, thank you for allowing me to come and hang with you guys.
That's right. It was really cool hanging with them there, and then also in the training in the park. There was a long bit of training that morning.
Yeah,
that's later.
Yeah, and we'll that'll be that was like the last part of our trip over there. So and the thing here is, listen, we're doing this as close to chronological as possible. So when we are definitely going to be doing another one. I don't know if Craig can join us next week as well, but we're definitely going to do part 2 of this. So Craig, You're invited back. Because once again, I don't want to force this. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. This trip, I don't think any of my trips so far has merited the amount of physical lessons that I've learned to pay for itself yet for any one trip.
Mm-hmm.
But the quantity of connections people, that's priceless. When you meet people and make friends, how do you put a price on that?
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, well, like I put a price on my family time. When people want me to leave my house, what I'm looking forward to this weekend? This is the first weekend since February 15th. I get to spend the whole weekend in my own bed. I was gone. You guys, we were all together for 2 weeks.
Yep.
I was home for a day and I went to Vegas. Came back for the week, went to Warrior Weekend up in North Bay.
Yep.
And now Craig's coming down to Buffalo on Thursday so we can do more filming for the social media on Friday. He's going to do the weekend training. The next black belt prep class is this weekend for the upcoming May camp. Nice. And then, so even then, and I'm not complaining, but I don't get the whole weekend myself because Craig will be there for a little bit. Yeah. And then the following weekend, Janice and I are going down to Orlando for the Maya conference.
Yep.
And then the weekend after that is the tournament for T&K Martial Arts. And then that's their next prep weekend. And then I don't know where I'm after that, then then Saratoga. So Ty, you're coming up to Buffalo, and then we're doing the Saratoga and New Hampshire.
Yep.
And then it's Easter weekend, and then I go back the weekend after that. I go to Florida for their camp.
No rest for the wicked,
and especially not for me. Brock, oh great! I'll get to see PG Craig on Saturday. There we go. Excellent.
All right, looking forward to it, Brock.
So, connections. We got to meet so many cool people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And connect with them as people, and that's priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Priceless. We made friends. We reinforced relationships. We fortified some relationships in the past. People got to ask us things, and we got to talk about stuff. And it was a blast. And that's all. We got there Friday, and we kept moving. And then Monday we hopped on a plane and we went to the Cebu.
Yep.
So we've been on for an hour. Do we want to address Cebu, or do we want to wrap it up? Okay, let's tell everybody what we did in Cebu, and then we can decide
on it for sure.
Yeah, so
I'm sure there's going to be more stuff that might come up.
Yeah,
after.
So we got there Monday.
Yep.
And we got to hang out with Panto Cañete Flores.
Yep.
So he is the grandson of Momoy Cañete. So he's a Cañete on his mother's side. And for those who are unfamiliar with Filipino culture, your middle name is your mother's maiden name. So Remy Amador Preces, his mother's family are the Amadors. His father is the Preces. Okay. So that way you can tie. So everybody, so Remy and his brother Ernesto and Roberto, well, actually the whole family all had the same. I don't know how it works with the women, but at least with the men, they all have the same middle name. So it's Remy Amador Preces, Ernesto Amador Preces, and Roberto Amador Preces. I'm assuming the women follow the same protocol. But I'm not going to swear by that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I know one of his students through social media, and they helped us with the meeting. He came to our hotel. We trained at night.
Cool.
He was so giving.
Yep.
So that was
absolutely.
that was day one.
Both for what he showed, but also all of the history and connections. And oh yeah.
So I want to talk about him in a second.
Yeah.
Tuesday, we were out with Timor Moringa. So we got to do Moringa
And his son.
And his son. We got to do the Moringa Balintawak, which Professor Prices came up through before I worked with Anchan Bakan.
Yep.
And then we got to go to Doce Par's headquarters and hang out with Grandmaster Gerald Quinete.
Yep.
And before we left, we got another training session with Grandmaster Panto Quinete Flores. Yep. So there's a whole bunch of, what's this right here?
Los.
Any idea?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So we got to do, there was two real big takeaways for me, which I thought was cool. So why do I do Balintawak? Why do I do Sikaran? Why do I do Kuntao? Because Professor sent me on those paths. He had told me that these are arts that contributed to the foundation for the formation of modern Arnis. He had told me that Kuntao and Sikaran were part of it. He opened the door for me to do Balintawak with Ted Buat, because that's the last art he trained before modern Arnis. So that's why I got into Balintawak. It was funny finding out that some people not want to acknowledge the fact that Balintawak comes from Doce Pares. Oh no, it was Anchan. Yeah, Anchan took he took the Doce Pares. He did a stick version only versus stick and dagger. It changed the expression, but the core material was there. And when I got to meet multiple times. I got to hang out with Kakoy Quinete. And the last time, and I met him through Remy. It was actually Doug Pierre hosted the seminar, and it featured Remy Praces and Kakoy Quinete. And Remy did the pull thing to the forehead to Kakoy. I'm like, whoa! And the cool thing was, when I saw him later, the last time I saw him, he was at Diamond Martial Arts, Ryer's Martial Arts. Josh Ryer. He's in the Pittsburgh area.
Okay, yeah.
And he studies with Zach Whitson, who is also a student of Kakoy. And I found it. So the first disarm of modern Arnis is our lever disarm. It's the first disarm I was taught in Balintawak, and Kakoy Quinete taught that same disarm in the seminar. So I got to see our technique multiple generations back. And then I hung out with Moni Velez and a few others, and they did the exact same disarm, a couple variants of that. So it was nice to see that. Well, when we got to talking with Grandmaster Pantos as well as Grandmaster Quinete,
yep,
I think we found out where Hubad came from, or at least as far as back as we can track it. Now, there was a Doce Pares school, a commercial one, back in 1920. So we know that the art goes at least that far back. And that's when there was a commercial school. So there was at least a generation before them. So it probably goes back to the 1800s to one level or another. Because they didn't just come up with a school overnight, So I was talking to someone recently. I said, where do you think Hubad came from? Oh, the Inosanto Academy. No. Guru Dan is a great person for spreading the information, but I don't see him a person who develops the information. He shares word with others, from others, And we found Hubad there, which was amazing. And to me, I'm like, and I should have known better, because I remember a documentary watching some people in the Philippines, and it turned out they were Doce Pares people, but I didn't put the connection together at the time, doing one of the variants of Hubad. And that was, to me, it was just one of those moments for me. How do you guys feel about when
there's a lot of those kind of moments, actually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, look at when we were at Doce Pares headquarters and we're watching the juniors practice. And then all of a sudden I'm like, Ty, look, they're doing cradle into basically side by side. It's like you
Right, yep.
all the stuff that we do. There was so, and that's the one thing is if you look at the amount of training, there was a little bit less training, but the amount of connections and putting all the pieces of the puzzle together on this trip was just
priceless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Vincent is watching from Puerto Princesa,
Yeah, nice.
Palawan, Modern Arnis, and we're planning on going there on maybe not the next trip, but the one right after that.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to hook up with you down there. There's also a Bikini Tertia group. There's also a Bikini Tertia group there we're planning on.
Yep, it's another island that we're trying to add. We're trying to collect more islands.
Yes.
Yeah, we're collecting them. It's like Pokemon cards, but different.
That's right.
Gotta get them all. Gotta get them all. So, and the other one, which we can't really describe well, yeah, I can do this. So there's a move where a martial art does a 1, and then they poke with a dagger, and they do a 2, and they back poke with a dagger.
Yep.
Okay, so I remember I was at Carlos Padalinghook's black belt grading. He invited me to sit on the board, and I went. I saw that move. I'm like, you guys do that? Yeah. That's funny. Why? That's the same damn move from Bikini Tertia. Really? Okay. So we're doing the San Miguel class, and Ponto does it. I'm like, damn.
Out of his basics. That's his basic.
Yep. And I go, hey, Bikini Tertia does that. He goes, well, of course they do. What do you mean, of course they do? Yeah, Leo Gahe lived with the family for about a year. And he trained with the family. Oh. Took it with a grain of salt. We're in Dos Par's headquarters. They're doing the same damn move.
Right.
And I go to him, hey. And I go, and Gerald's like, oh, yeah, no. Leo Gahe used to live with us. Like, because Leo was, Gerald Cañete is the son of Junie Cañete. And I go, yeah, no. He lived with us and he trained with us all the time. So it's interesting to find where some people got their material from. Now, I know that might be a big one that people are going to start crying foul on, and I really, really don't care. It's not about busting people's chops. It's about sharing discoveries.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember getting I remember when we did FMA Talk, and there was a big argument about things. And there was an argument between multiple Pitikiti groups, lineages.
Mm.
And I kept forgetting something. And finally I sat there and it dawned on me. I'm like, I'm an idiot. And most of you watching me will probably say, yeah, you are. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? And he goes, what? And I went to these guys and go, hey, remember, Leo Gahe didn't create Bikini. He inherited Bikini. And everyone, even the people that don't get along with those groups, will be the first to give credit that Bikini Tertia wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for the work that Leo Gahe's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like the Balintawak people, some of them out there don't acknowledge the fact that Balintawak comes from Dos Pares. Dos Pares has influence on other martial arts as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Bikini Tertia is one of them.
Yeah.
And anyone who does Hubud, most likely, that's where it came from. And, Guru Dan is probably the most influential person to help get that material out there and let a lot of us who weren't doing Dos Pares sample a little piece of it. But then again, we don't know. I mean, did he get that from Dos Pares, or did he get it from Bikini Tertia, who got it from Dos Pares?
Yeah.
Interesting. All interesting stuff. Looking forward to making more connections of that nature.
And I think it's great being able to see that connections. You can see the influence so many arts had on other arts. That's actually a great thing.
I'm not loving it when people try to fight those connections and roots and whatever, even if the direction was different, maybe it's the other way direction, but to make those connections and see what correlations and what cross pollinations are where, I think it makes all of us, all of our understanding stronger if you can learn from those.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is talk about something that happened on the internet. The sad thing, I'm not gonna name the players. They will probably know who they are, and I don't need to go it down. But it's like it was the same thing where someone was talking about stick grappling the Dog Brothers are doing, and then of course someone actually tried. Oh, well, that's because they worked with Leo Gahe, and Leo Gahe taught them all this stuff. And I'm a student of the person who actually did all that, and Craig, being the only modern East black belt out there who's a full-fledged Dog Brother, do you happen to know who was the one that gave the Dog Brothers their stick grappling material, Craig?
Dr. G.
Dr. G. So then when the talk was going back and forth, and all of a sudden one of my guys actually pointed out the fact that here's the article that explains all this, and the person got petty and started talking about other things to say less than good things about the person, which had nothing to do with the conversation. And the thing here is, if I point out where something came from, is that a bad thing? Modern Arnice's Tappy Tappy is there, ultimately, in my opinion, because of the work Remy did in Balintawak. Now, he did a synthesis and changed some things and stuff of that nature and modified it. But if it wasn't for the Balintawak, I don't think Remy would have had Tappy Tappy.
Right.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
But even when we were in Doses Perez headquarters, there seemed to, because he talked about Remy visiting the headquarters as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, there was always that cross pollination.
Yeah.
There was always that cross training. There was always that sharing of ideas.
Yeah. And the thing here is, I don't feel it's bad to talk about some of where Remy could have potentially got material from. No, because how many people listen, I come up with a lot of drills and stuff of my own, but it's based off of somebody else's work. I was given fundamentals by other people, and what I do with it is a whole nother story.
And we always acknowledge where it came from too.
Right. So, I mean, if we're talking about music, someone teach me how to play a guitar. It's off of someone's work teaching me how to play guitar. Now I come up with my own songs and all this other stuff. That's fine, but I'm not making up new notes. The notes are the notes, So, I think it's awesome. I want to share this information so people, while we have the people who were around when it happened.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think that was the cool thing. Like, and the stories coincided. There was no confliction. There was no, it was almost verbatim. Like they were just repeating each other's stories.
That was great. Yep.
And not to bring, hey, Eric, how you doing, brother? And not to be negative about this. Listen, the Cañete family hasn't always gotten along with themselves. No family does. Whether it's my Marshall family or my actual family's worse. So the Modern East family, we don't get along. We don't see eye to eye. When Remy died, it fell apart. Okay. And that's, you look at any family, either when the matriarch of the family passes on, either the family gets together stronger or it becomes fractured. Okay, it became fractured. No different than other martial arts out there. So when people sit there and say, oh, look at the politics of Modern East, why do they have to say all that? Look at Parker's Kempo, look at Taekwondo, look at Ishinru, look at any art that the head founder passed away. It's the norm. Yeah. If it hasn't happened to you yet, then you don't know what you're talking about. If you haven't experienced that yet, or if you're coming up and it's just, well, why is everyone so angry? You weren't there when this all happened, so you have no clue to talk about. So when the Cañete families don't necessarily see eye to eye and they still tell you the same damn story, that right. tells you something.
Yep.
And actually, for the validity of the story, it's actually better for us that the family members don't necessarily agree with each other or get along with each other quite well, because it's not this conspiracy to, oh, no, they're all just saying that to push things. Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that doesn't exist. It's Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. BJJ is just the Newaza of Judo. So, and Jiu-Jitsu is a Japanese thing. Hey, Tim Dobson, saw him this weekend.
Hey, Tim. Good seeing you this weekend.
Yeah, it was a great time hanging out with you. So I mean, and those connections. I mean, for history, we normally don't get this kind of crap. I mean, and I don't want to say crap, but I was so excited to get historical stuff. I mean, oh my
And we
God.
haven't even touched on some of the really good stuff we got in a lot of the next islands.
Well, yeah, that's the controversial stuff. More controversial than this.
But it was connecting everything and finding the path that it all came from, which is cool. And whether that particular art branched off and helped influence multiple other systems, what's wrong with that? That's a great thing. I love understanding where things come from.
Well, this is, we talk about, a lot of times, hey, we had Remy here. We didn't really need to go anywhere to get training from him because we had him, right? But what we don't get is, of course, the culture and whatever, or even in this case, some historical kind of delving and connections, physical, what do you call it? The history of the actual connections, right? You wouldn't get that except for what you maybe pulled out of GM Remy while he was alive. But his English wasn't that great, and also he didn't like to, at least with me, he didn't talk about that stuff a lot.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So Craig was just coming on board when Remy did his last seminar in Canada. Mm-hmm. So Craig is a second gen student. He met Remy, but he ended up being my student, and actually he was a student of Paul Dottie's first, and then he got passed up to me, just like how Remy got passed up to Anshan. He didn't start with Anshan, but he worked his way up. And many of Remy's students started with somebody else first and they got passed up. So maybe we were second or third generation at the time. I was what I call myself second generation C. John Bryant was a student of Don Zangi. He left Don Zangi and then went directly with Remy. Well, I was a student of John, who was a student of Don, but I eventually got passed up and became a first generation student of Remy. Now, not the era. The era I trained never changes. You can't change the era, but how far away from the source you can easily do. I could start with, like I said, Remy didn't start with Anshan. He finished with Anshan.
Yeah.
Ty and I have the same story. We both started with somebody else and eventually got passed up to Remy or recruited one way or another. So we both started second generation variants and then became first generation students. So I want to ask you this, Ty. So Ty has traveled the world for various reasons, spoken multiple languages, and started speaking, started to learn how to speak Tagalog. Does a phenomenal job. I mean, and I sit there, he's not going to brag about this. He's going to say, we can always get better and stuff. But I mean, he's having conversations with Filipinos speaking Tagalog. Yeah. And even though it might be 100% proper or modern way of doing this, or maybe it's a little more formal or it's the Western version, they're all joking. And Craig and I are like, what the fuck? Exactly. You better not be making fun of me, you bastard. And of course, they all look at me and laugh. I'm like,
Konti lang.
Yep. So after learning this and having a good handle on things, and now you think about the conversations you had with Remy, do you think you understand him a little better?
Well, like I said, I think we've talked about this before. Yes, I think that definitely helps for me, right? I actually backed in it sideways because of my familiarity with a similar culture, the Malay culture. So I kind of knew a lot of times where he's coming from, just not the details. This then puts a cap on that the more I see the islands.
Now, for myself, it's not the language. But having been, this was my 10th trip to the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. I would go to Toronto while Remy was alive to get exposed to Filipino culture, but I went to the Philippines to be immersed in Filipino culture. And I couldn't do it with one trip. Each trip I went to the Philippines, I got more and more insight on Filipinos, where their mindset is and stuff of that nature. The good, the bad, the ugly. Okay. I think if Remy was with us right now, let's say he was in a coma for 25 years and came out of it today, I mean, I think I would get along with him better probably than everybody else. And not putting me above that. Let me rephrase that. I feel that now, with my understanding, it makes me look at the things he said and did back then completely different. And if I had this experience back then, I would have a completely different relationship with Remy. Just simple things. Like if you wanted to talk to a Filipino about something controversial, you have to do the breadcrumb thing. What you do is you start with the outer circle and you work your way into the inner circle. You just don't go right to the center and go, hey, what the bleep, you know? And unfortunately, a lot of Westerners would go right to that point, and it would go horribly wrong because it would be kind of rude and stuff. Now, I always have been a person, believe it or not, that would, when I wanted to talk about certain things, I was actually work my way through and to it because I just didn't want to start with that, you know, because, you know, I just want to, I mean, that's just, some people are that way, and I actually was that way. But with some topics, I'm just like in your face and over. I wish to God I had this kind of insight on Filipino culture back when Remy was with us, because there's no question that I would have had a completely different relationship with the old man. I mean, I was starting to do Tagalog with him, you know, just, kumusta ka? Salamat tatay, and and you know, and he was digging it, and he would start speaking a little, you know, and I just think if we had more insight of this, that we all would have done it. Because, you know, a lot of times people would say shit about Remy. Oh, he did this and he did that. I'm like, but you never once thinking about where he might be coming from. You know, is he wrong, or are we wrong? Or we're looking things from two different directions and we don't have the same viewpoint, so we don't have that same connection or reference.
Mm-hmm.
And both physically, or no, both philosophically, and now understanding the martial arts thing a little differently too, it definitely makes me look at a lot of things different than I was when he was with us. I just, you know, I it's that bittersweet thing. When we were talking to Grandmaster Gerald Cañete, he talked about how his father and his uncle made amends. That was Juni Cañete and Kakoy. And the sad part was it happened too late for them to enjoy it.
Yep.
And that's how I feel today. I know so much more. I feel that I know so much more about my teacher than I ever have before, because I'm understanding the people different and I'm looking at my past differently. And unfortunately, Remy's not here for us to enjoy that with him.
Right. Yep.
If we'd have had one kuya, one big brother that could have led us through that, we could have had a whole different Remy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but and on that note, okay, that was my philosophical moment there. So we talked about technique and oh shit, let's do Ilo. What the hell? Why not? Well, and listen, all three.
We didn't talk about the traffic in Cebu.
Oh my God.
Rush hour.
What I want to say is, listen, I want to thank the Grandmaster Flores Cañete, Grandmaster Panto Flores Cañete, Grandmaster Gerald Cañete, Grandmaster
Drago
Maranga.
Yeah.
They were so giving for us.
Yep, they were absolutely unbelievable. Their sessions.
We did training sessions with in Balintawak and in San Miguel. We did a meeting and lining up a future training session.
But they demoed for us.
And they demoed for us. They let us film. We hung out. They gave us coffee. I mean, they got a special chocolate coffee.
Yeah.
They gave. I've got my dula. They gave us some gifts. And
again, super giving. Everybody.
Oh my God. And they hung with us while we waited for our ride to get there.
And one question we asked: any question we asked, they had an answer. They had something to tell us.
Yep.
Didn't seem like there was any secrets. It was just
No.
because we weren't there for any dirt. It was just, we just want to know, we want to understand, and they were forgiving with that.
I think they appreciated that. It seemed like that somebody was asking these questions without any hidden agenda.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing, and hey, Cindy.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm trying to. We were at the Seacron meeting together. So, oh, actually, I was at the tournament. I'm looking up right now. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was the tournament.
That's what I thought. Yeah, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
We had so many new Facebook contacts this whole trip.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And listen, for those who are reached out to us, we are still in the process of sorting through all this stuff.
Right.
I missed a meeting today because I couldn't find my information because so much has happened since then. It's been crazy. Iloilo, we went there. We ended up doing some teaching there, which was great. And we met a whole load of grandmasters there. They came out to see us. So it was Nilo, who is a great new friend of ours who we met. I met him at the World Championships in Mactan, Cebu. So it's Nilo de la Cruz Sara. And so we were talking and we said, hey, listen, if we come over, he goes, yeah, I'll hook you up. And man, he came through. Plus, we got to see a very good friend of ours, Irene from the Pension Hotel, who, because of COVID, went back to her home and just never went back to Manila. So we got to spend time with her and her family as well, which is great. I got to meet the family. They were all hanging out. Surprised they didn't just sit with us, but that's all good. No, it was a very good trip. Nilo hooked us up with a whole bunch of people, and then we got to meet with a historian.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget that Nilo and Giambani came out to pick us up and take us to our hotel. Yep. That was so nice of them. They went out of their way. It was not an easy drive.
No. We could have easily gotten a taxi or a grab to do it, and they took it upon themselves to take that extra level.
Again, welcoming, yeah.
And we had a guy who had dialysis who went through all that and then still came to visit us. I mean, it was crazy.
2 hours. Was it 2+ hours?
Yeah.
To get one to see us.
Just a great, good meeting with 5 GMs and
yeah. And what was our historian's name again?
Gosh, golly.
Davini?
Davani.
Yeah.
Devaney or Davani. Yeah.
Yeah. So so this was the one that really nailed it for me on multiple levels. So
Davani Fuentes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm gonna
also a GM.
Yep. I'm gonna go backwards in the conversation. And he did recommend us to go to a museum. We actually went to a couple of museums while we were there. It was definitely we're glad that he referred us to. It was a good time. Now, first we talked about something, and then afterward, the second part was the second conversation. So we'll go to the last one. The last one was we talked about Datu. Now, I get all this heat, and
it's old at this point.
It's old, but the thing here is this. My position is real simple. Remy Praces promoted me to Datu.
Okay.
Done.
Yep.
If it was Remy's like a father, if it's important to him for me to have the title, it's important for me to represent it. Okay. That being said, I still like double checking. Still like to double check. Sure. One of the Grandmasters is a historian. They were all talking about what kind of historian he is.
Yes.
So we asked the first question, which we'll get into next. And then I said, listen, Datu. Okay. I go, first of all, I have never self-promoted. No titles that I use have I self-awarded. It was earned through someone else. And then I said the same thing. Professor Praces gave it to 6 people. I was the last. He was like a father to me. If it was important to him, for me to have it, it's important to me to represent. That being said, I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, he's like, defend the damn title. That's the message I got from him.
Yeah.
He goes, there's nothing wrong with you. I go, first of all, is it a Muslim thing or a Filipino thing? He goes, it has nothing to do with the Muslim religion. It's a Filipino thing. So, because a lot of people say you're not even Muslim. There's a difference between Datu, which is Filipino, and Datuk, which is Indonesian or Malaysian. It's how the word applies to the specific culture we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've had Muslims who aren't even Filipino or Malaysian, they're Middle Eastern Muslims, actually try to come after me on this. I'm like, are you Filipino? No. Then you don't know what you're talking about. So shut your hole. And especially when I go there, oh, don't you do modern on East? Yeah. So Grandmaster Remy did this. Yeah. Well, but I go, you're doing the system. You're agreeing to do the system. You're following what the Grandmaster said, but you're saying he didn't have the right to do this, but he had the right to do all this other stuff. What are you saying? He's wrong? Are you calling the Grandmaster wrong? Because really, when we have this conversation,
right,
that's the point. I'm the recipient. I'm not the giver. If everyone's saying Grandmaster Remy Praces was wrong in doing this, you should have spoke up while he was alive.
Yep.
And if you were alive and you didn't say anything, you're a bunch of freaking cowards, so shut your hole. Now, what this historian was telling us is the funniest thing. Other people said, you know, and Carlos and his father told us this, Patalingo, you know, Tim, the Datu's the guy who has money.
That's right.
And then Carlos comes up 5 minutes later. You know what Datu is, Tim? What? He's the guy with a lot of money. And then the meeting said the same damn thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
and the other person that we talked to in Manila also.
Yeah. That was hilarious. They just keep coming up the same thing over and over. But the end of the story was, I hear what you're saying. I have no problem with what you're doing. You should defend that position. Okay, good. But here was the revelation. I mean, that was good. I mean, to me, now that I've got a historian on my side with this, I'm all good. But I was all good already. And no matter what he was going to say, because of my relationship with Remy and because of what he did, I was going to still defend it either way.
Sure.
Because it wasn't meant for a cultural appropriation. But then I asked him, and these guys were like, okay, Kali and Kalis.
That's right. Yep.
Here's the cool thing. So let me make sure I got this right, guys. Kali was what farmers did? Dig? Was that right?
Dig, yeah.
So the word, I go, is Kali even in the Filipino language? He goes, yes, in certain dialects, it literally means to dig. I go, so there's no martial connection to this. And the answer to that was no. I'm like, okay. And then I said, what about Kalis? Because allegedly from Kalis. Ty, would you like to take this one?
The one for, when you scoop up a thing of salt or a thing of flour and you need to level off the top and you just scrape across there, that action was Kalis, if I remember right. Craig?
Yeah, we're talking about they used to trade in volume instead of weight.
Right, right. So when you would do
the container,
when you would do a bushel of this and a bushel of that, or if you're cooking, so you take a cup of flour or whatever, and you scrape off the excess. Yep. So, I mean, in modern time, like in cooking back home, now of course we don't use the word Kalis in the English language over here. We're just scraping off the excess, but that's right. Literally what it meant. And I'm like, wow. So there's no martial connection to the word Kali or Kalis. This is a historian, and one of the people that were doing this, he actually talked to and consulted. But here's the thing, and here's the takeaway I got from what I thought was amazing. Let's say there's people that got that wrong out there. Actually, we know people got that wrong out there. It doesn't take away for all the things they've got right.
Sure.
And we talked about one person in particular, and he goes, I will never, even though he's had the conversation with the person, I will never call him on that because of all the good things he's been doing, promoting the Filipino culture and material. And just because one or two things, minor little thing is wrong, doesn't undo all the things we got right.
And that was the common theme throughout our whole trip, is it was about promoting the art. Promoting the arts.
So there's going to be things that people get wrong. And just because one thing wrong doesn't make everything wrong.
that, and there's old words are often used in new ways eventually. Anyway, that's how language evolves. And so I'm gonna call this thing an earwig. There we go. It's an earwig.
Okay. You've been printing too much shit lately, haven't you?
That's right. This is a piece of computer.
Oh, I thought you just 3D printed something.
No.
Oh, what's this?
I didn't do sound effects for the show.
Is that the wrong? So we got to have that. I was thinking about getting one of those buttons that I can have sound effects like that.
Yeah, this only does one now.
Well, hey, one's enough. I think the big thing I got from this was people were willing to share.
Yep.
People were willing to talk.
Yep.
People were willing to ask questions and listen.
And be real.
And whether we agreed on everything or not, we can all agree to disagree.
And one thing that I did notice too that really resonated with me, with all the people that we met, all the people that we had to train with, there was no trash talk about anybody else or any other system, or my system is better, or we do it. It was like we do it differently, but there was never any mine is better than the other. There was nothing. There was none of that negativity across any of the systems, and that was so cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Refreshing.
Yeah. I got the worst comment I got was, well, they might not agree with me on this.
Yeah.
That's with some of the families.
Right.
I'm like, okay, yeah, but it wasn't, there was no trash talk.
No, not at all.
None whatsoever. And
kind of like the way the tone of the tournament set it all up.
Yeah. And the thing here is, I think we're very good at keeping ourselves away from those people over there. There's some people that make some comments, and actually the people who are like that over there at one time that we used to have access to, we don't go near them anymore. I try to stay, I remember, okay, so Matt says, nice to see you guys.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Along with the, hey, did you know, Matt, that we were on tonight? So I I only put the show up last night on the thing. So, and I did a quick post ahead of time. So, but I mean, we had over 20 people watching at one time. So that was pretty good, and I'm looking forward to see what the numbers are like. The software changed a little, so I'm hoping I did this right this time. I mean, I know I did it right, but there's a few other things here that could have been, little, just a little learning curve here and there, real quick. So, like I said, this was such a good trip and so beneficial, and the things that we got. I mean, so. If we talk about San Miguel, I love the footwork. I love it for an enrichment program. We did a lot, but there's a lot. We did a lot of training while we were there. We dug in deep and fast.
Yep.
And fortunately, they let us video.
And when he was demoing, when you started seeing all the, oh my gosh, look at that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
Seeing everything. Yeah.
I'm doing one of the series right now. That I'm like the first base series with a pop and the poke and the come in and hit the hand and up, down and restart it all over again. And that was
the template. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, I mean, this whole show has been the show has been, we're about to end the show. How was the trip? This whole thing is about how badass this trip was. The things, this trip alone was worth all the trips going over, but because of the connections. Material wise, I'm greedy bastard. I want more. And I really loved the San Miguel because we only did 2 arts. We didn't train the 12 Pares. They did some, and you know what? The San Miguel and the 12 Pares are so close to each other because they're from the same family.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming when we get to do the 12 Pares, we're going to have so much fun with that and find some more connections there. But I really, really enjoyed the San Miguel and how did a lot of body manipulation, and I liked a lot of the captures with your arm versus your hand.
Yeah.
Got to work on how to use that dagger more. I'm not feeling the dagger the same way. I don't do and here's what I'm saying. I don't do enough stick and dagger for those maneuvers to feel comfortable.
Yeah, I was feeling the same way. Yeah, with that hooking one.
There's a couple that just feel awkward and tie-ups, and it's not because the material's bad.
Yeah.
It's because the quantity of stick and dagger material I do overall.
Yeah.
If and now that I'm doing it more, I'm definitely feeling more comfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the secret? Repetition.
Mm-hmm.
When we're teaching up in North Bay this weekend, someone asked me like, this is it. I go, and I just went, I'm like, and they looked at me. I go, 40 years of training. Just, of course, you're not going to get, but I go 40 years. And you get a year under your belt, you're going to be a whole nother person. You're just first time you're doing the material here. You do this once a week for a year, you'd have a whole different look and feel for it, and so. And that's and the thing here is, I think the way I say it now really vibes with people, because it's not, I've been doing it for 40 years. I go, no, I've done it 40 years. That's why I'm making it look easy, and if you put more time in, you're going to make it look easy, and I think that's definitely it because I've been careful on when I say it to not like neener. Because it's not. I mean, I've been doing it for 40 years, and I've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been playing at it. I've been doing it, And where other people, there's a difference between how long you've been in the art and how long you've been at the art. And if you don't understand that, in the art is the chronological date you started. At the art is the hours that you log in. And I remember talking to Grandmaster Heisner, who passed away a couple years ago. He's like, I've got guys that have been in it for 20 years, but they've been repeating the second year forever. Because I just see them like once a year.
Yep.
They haven't gotten past their third or fourth year of training because they did whatever to get to whatever. And then all of a sudden I just see them once or twice a year. And, that's just enough that's not even enough to keep the rust off. We're beginning to get the rust off, and then I stop, and then we'll do it again. No, it's stopped again. So, but no, I think, I think with a little more stick and dagger work on my end, I'm going to feel a lot better doing some of those maneuvers. And I think when I do more of this, I'll have better questions the next time we go, because I haven't trained enough to have the right questions.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea what we were even going to be seeing.
Right.
Because I've heard of San Miguel, but I hadn't seen really anything. So it was a pleasant surprise. That was for sure. Yeah.
Well, I am very pleased with the experience, and and for an art that is I don't want to it is, I don't want to say an abstract art. It's not it is a rare art to to get access to.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Which is not, I'm not saying anything about its value one way or another. But okay, so if you're in Buffalo and you're going to do Korean martial arts, you can do Taekwondo. You're in Jacksonville, you might be doing Tang Sudo because that's very strong there. And a lot of people do both, but you will not find Tang. I don't know of anyone in Buffalo that does Tang Sudo. So to me, Tang Sudo is it's a rarer art to come across, but that can be regionally. And the same thing with the San Miguel. There are not many schools in there, and it's hard to find this. I think Tom Bizio trained San Miguel. Yeah, Tom Bizio trained San Miguel.
Okay.
And I don't know many people other than him that have out in the States. So I'm digging it, and when I have more chance, I'm going to pop back. Oh, I'm hoping. I'm waiting to find out about Bobby Tabata's birthday party. If it is definitely going down in November, I'm going to be pulling another session with Grandmaster Flores, because that was definitely good. Actually, I'd probably look at if I can coordinate it and go to their training group. I wouldn't do a private. I like doing privates with a group of us, or I like a semi-private, so someone can document and all this other stuff. But I would definitely want to do the group thing. Get another vibe. It's a whole other, privates are cool, but I also like to see how does he teach in a group format.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, Jeremy, good to see you, Tim. It was a little funny side session with the empty conference.
Jim Dobson.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Bondo. Thanks for the Bondo sticker. Tim didn't give me a Bondo sticker, the bastard. Oh, you Jeremy just sold you out there, Tim.
Yeah.
And I'm your Bondo brother.
He was holding out on us.
Oh, screw you, man. I'm certified in Bondo and I don't have a sticker. Damn it. All right. Well, I don't think there's anything worth talking about digging in anymore, because it'll change. How do you guys feel about doing a part 2 next week and wrapping it up there?
Sure.
Yeah, we can ferment and see which other parts we want to emphasize and play on. But yeah,
and review and do so that. Plus, then we can possibly talk about. I can hit up Got Sticks weekend as well as Warrior weekend that we just did. So what I wanted to talk about or remind people is that the weekend of April 11th through 13th, April 11th was it Waterville, New Hampshire? Water Valley, New Hampshire?
Yeah.
It's in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Martial Arts Symposium hosted by Terry Dow, PG Ty, Professor Jerry Desano, and myself will be teaching the Friday night session. For those who go there, we will only be there Friday night because, unfortunately for us, that weekend is double booked. It's also the Saratoga Martial Art Festival, and we said we'd teach at both of them. So once we're done Friday night, we're driving another 3 hours. We're going to drive. Well, Ty is the crazy one. Ty is going to drive 6-7 hours to me, and then he and Professor Jerry are hopping in the car. I'm going to drive 7 hours to New Hampshire while these guys are co-pilots or they're snoring or whatever it is. We'll do the Friday session, and then we'll drive back to Saratoga that night. It's about a 3-hour drive. Then we'll be in Saratoga for the rest of the weekend. Sunday, we will drive back to Buffalo. Jerry will drive back up to St. Catharines, which is only about a 40, 50-minute drive. And then I got to figure out what this guy's going to do. Obviously, you're welcome to stay Sunday night at the house if you want to get an early morning start, because he's got to have another 6-7 hour drive home after that.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm not the crazy one here. Everyone's going to say, you're crazy doing all this stuff. I go, yeah, I am, but there are people that are even worse. All right, and good chat seeing you all again, Eric. This is great. Yeah. You know what? I'm feeling energized. I mean, the break we had, I think, was perfect. I don't think we're going to hit 26 shows this season.
I know I probably can't. I got some definite changes coming up. So, yeah.
But then again, that doesn't mean Craig or someone else couldn't fill in.
Yep.
Yeah.
So next week will be part 2 of the Philippines trip, along with some other stuff. Craig, you got any event coming up anytime soon?
No. Actually, in April is the next one. I'll be teaching at the KSC Canada camp with
there you go.
PG Jason and Guru Brad.
And Guru Jeff Espino, the head of KSC, will be
as
there.
Well as Jeremy, basically, is his top guys coming up to teach as well. Awesome.
Yeah, that's in London, Ontario. So for those who are in that area, I would highly recommend that event. Actually, and most of the staff members of that event are WMA members, even though it's the KSC camp. Hiltz. Oh, yeah. May 3rd.
May 3rd. Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Hilt's tournament. Well, he's doing a stick fighting division at what's the tournament? Do we know the name?
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember. It's the annual tournament in Coburg. It's an open, basically martial art tournament. And Greg was actually invited to do a stick fighting division as well at point stick fighting added, as well as there's going to be FMA specific forms.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right. And then there's all these other things that have been going on. And Anu, he said, yes, he just said that. Yep, Anu, yep. All right. Well, listen, we'll wrap this up right here. So here we go. This is Datu Hartman and
PG Tye.
and
PG Greg.
There you go.
All right, there we go. Yeah, I know you haven't been doing this much with us this way. So at the end of the day, listen, thanks all for tuning in. We've had a lot of support on today's show. We haven't done it in a while. Thanks for hanging in and waiting for us to come back. And I'm looking forward. There's some new directions we're going in a positive way. And I'm just looking forward to sharing more information. Watch out for FMA Talk magazine. It'll be coming out this week. If you go to the World Modernist Alliance, WModernist.com/FMA Talk, that'll be the page. It'll be up in the menu shortly. Nothing there is downloadable yet, but by the end of the week, you'll be able to click on the first episode issue, and then PG Tye, we got to get yours. Yours is the next issue. Nothing like throw them under the bus and say, this is what we're doing.
All right, great.
All right, Mr. Wolf. Oh, here we go. So we have, thanks for sharing. That's Karate LUA, Tijuana. Oh, hey, thanks. Thank you. Then we've got Mr. Wolf, always a pleasure. And then David Parker says, thanks. Listen, we love doing this. We love seeing you all. We will see you all soon. Everybody stay safe and stay sane.
Take care.